Hello, an elaborate wave to welcome you. Hello, welcome, willkommen, bienvenue. Leo is here. Thank heavens for that. How are you, Leo? Good week?
I'm fine, Daniel. How are you?
Oh, I'm terrible. I ran a half marathon, as you well know, yesterday,
Yeah.
and that was a stupid decision. Um,
And how did you
but
do?
I finished. I'm alive,
Yeah.
and that's all that matters. No other details will be
Congratulations.
given. Right, let's jump straight into the action. And we thought we'd change things up a little bit by talking about the Premier League first. We never do that. Haha, irony. Yes, let's talk about the Premier League. And first of all, let's talk through some of the results that we had. So, at the start on Saturday, we had Chelsea winning 2-0 at Burnley, a rather underwhelming performance from Chelsea, but a victory nonetheless. Bournemouth came from 2 goals down to draw 2-2 at home against West Ham United. Brighton also came from behind to defeat Brentford 2-1 at home, with Brentford striker Igor Thiago missing a late penalty for a point. Fulham ended their terrible run of results with a 1-0 victory over high-flying Sunderland. Single goal by Raul Jimenez there. Liverpool's terrible form continues with a 3-0 loss at Anfield against Nottingham Forest. Wolves, well, they're doing what Wolves do, completely toothless, against Crystal Palace. Palace who won 2-0 at Molyneux. And the last match on Saturday, Newcastle United defeating Manchester City 2-1. An incredible, really fun match there. And on Sunday, Leeds United won, Aston Villa 2. Villa coming from a goal down to win that. And where we're going to start, the North London derby. Arsenal 4, Tottenham Hotspur 1. You've put on the program notes that North London is red. I mean, that's kind of an understatement, isn't it? Spurs barely existed in this match, despite the fact they got a goal. Arsenal, as bad as Spurs were, Arsenal were that good. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, I never thought Tottenham could dominate Arsenal because they were so down in the game. It was kind of poetic that it was Eberechi Eze who shone in that game because he was trained at Arsenal for 5 years during his childhood. He almost joined Tottenham last summer. Remember, they were talking about 55 million pounds deal, if I'm correct. And yeah, yesterday he scored that hat trick. He could have scored more, even.
Yeah, yeah. It
And
was a hell of a performance. Sorry to jump in, but like a hell of a
yeah,
performance by. But also, we should say not only did he train at Arsenal, but he is an Arsenal fan, so quite a special moment for him.
yeah, of course. And when you know what the North London derbies means for the Arsenal and Tottenham fans, it's obviously impressive to play that kind of game. And it was his first North London derby, so I think there was an emotional aspect that he perfectly endured. So 10 out of 10 performance from Eze.
Absolutely. Speaking of Spurs now, a lot of criticism has been aimed at Thomas Frank. In recent weeks, it seems like the Spurs fans haven't quite warmed to him yet, and that kind of goes hand in hand with Tottenham's inability to be creative and to create chances. And in fact, was it they recently posted the lowest recorded XG in the Premier League era, but they've beaten their own record. I think it was 0.07 against Arsenal. It seemed like it was just the wrong. Was it the wrong tactics? Was it the wrong lineup? Nothing seemed to work for Spurs today. Yesterday rather.
Yeah, yeah, but to be honest, I don't really think it was due to the tactics, to the system, or whatever, because Arsenal were just so dominant against them. And just to recall, they are playing without Gyökeres, without Odegaard, without Kai Havertz. So they were just the best team yesterday.
Yeah.
We can also highlight the performance of Leandro Trossard once again in a big game. I think he He's one of the
Well,
most.
there was a lot of talk about him leaving in the summer, wasn't there? Because Arsenal have invested a lot of money in the last few seasons and actually haven't sold that many players. So there is a widely held belief that they're going to have to start selling soon. And Trossard, being I think he's 31 now, seemed possibly one of the first to be sold, just because obviously on the left hand side, him, Martinelli. They could probably do without one of those now that they've got Eze, as well as players like Madueke who can play both sides. But Trossard's had a very good start to the season, hasn't he?
Yeah, and I think he's a really reliable player for Arsenal since his signing. He has played now more than 130 games. I took a look on his transfer market page for the numbers, and he scored 33 goals and assisted 28 times. So for a player who is not destined to be a starter for Arsenal, it's more than good.
Consistently contributing, yeah, especially for such
Yeah,
a buyer. I think they got him for something like £15 million from Brighton.
yeah. And in decisive moments and decisive games, because he not only score against the promoted teams, but he usually score in big games. So good investment.
And the fact he contributes goals and assists as well is quite interesting.
Yeah.
Coming off that left hand side. So looking at the table currently, so Arsenal are top on 29, and currently in second place are Chelsea on 23, with Manchester City losing to Newcastle United, and obviously Liverpool losing quite a lot. It doesn't seem like there's an obvious title challenger to Arsenal currently, although I think we all accept that Manchester City will offer some sort of fight. Are Chelsea the second best team in England currently? Because, well, the club, they are the world champions after all, but they are on a good winning run. They are consistent, but they don't seem to impress anybody, including their own fans, and yet they're second. They're a confusing team, aren't they?
Yeah, your point is interesting. I watched the games against Burnley on Saturday, and I wasn't impressed. Burnley did play well, but I think what made Chelsea win this game is the fact that they have better individuals than Burnley, and that Burnley are in kind of trouble these past weeks because of their result and their place in the table. But yeah, I don't think Chelsea are the best second team in England. I think Manchester City are better. And this coming week, with games against Barcelona tomorrow and Arsenal next weekend, it will be interesting to see what they can do against the biggest teams in Europe at the moment.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a sort of gauge on the continent as well. Again, still looking at the table. So tonight, Manchester United host Everton, if anybody was wondering where that result was. And Manchester United could go fourth, actually, with a victory, which I think would shock everybody, considering how bad the start of the season was for them.
Yeah.
Although, having said that, Villa had a terrible start to the season. They're currently fourth. But it is very interesting when you sort of look from, say, Chelsea on 23 points, Manchester City on 22, and then between Manchester City on 22 and Liverpool down in 11th, there are only 4 points. So it's kind of a strange thing where you have the best part of, 11 teams going for European football this year. If you accept that Arsenal are favourites for the title, I think you'd be hard pressed to argue against it. Then there are a lot of sides fighting for European position, and this is not even including someone like, say, a team like Newcastle who might recover by the second half of the season. In your opinion, which sides do you think are more likely for the Champions League, and which sides do you think might squeeze in into the European competition that might surprise us? For example, Bournemouth, Brighton are in there despite their inconsistent start to the season. As are Crystal Palace, as are Sunderland. So do you think any of those would be able to squeak into some European competition?
Can you remind me how many teams will be competing in the Champions League next season for England?
Well, Well, officially it's
It
4,
depends
but
on the FA
it's
Cup and
probably
yeah,
5. The idea is that mathematically it's probably going to be 5, but it didn't happen 2 years ago. The idea being that it's probably 5 in the Champions League, and then 1 in the Europa League, and then 2 in the Conference League. I think,
yeah.
or the other way around. So probably
So
7. Let's say 7 European places.
yeah, obviously Arsenal. I think Arsenal, Chelsea, and Manchester City were actually first, second, and third will be in the Champions League next season.
Mm.
And the fourth place, the fourth allocated place, without talking about FA Cup, will be really disputed. We will maybe have a word on Liverpool, but I think they can achieve to go up in the table. Manchester United these past weeks have proved they have something to offer to the fans. They can win some big games, so I think we will have to rely on them too. And then
And actually, of
I
course, this is the first time with Amarin, obviously no European football, so this is the time where he
yeah
actually gets a full week to train with them. So no wonder they're
yeah
looking better, having invested £200 million in 3 attackers and actually having training time.
yeah, of course. And for the rest, I think Crystal Palace, Tottenham, maybe Brighton and Sunderland, but I want to wait because we know that it's a very long season for Premier League clubs. Sunderland are promoted; they are doing great, but we can see that they are already seventh in the table when they were second 2-3 weeks ago. So things can go wrong or right
Yeah.
quickly. So we will wait. But I think, yeah, as usual, Tottenham, maybe Crystal Palace. Let's see what they can do with the European football.
Apparently, because it's so compressed, it could be anybody.
Yeah,
You did mention Liverpool. Quick word on Liverpool, because obviously that's 6 losses out of their last 7 in the Premier League. Now, I think it's widely accepted that they're no chance of them winning the title, defending their title. But despite their terrible form, they are only 5 points behind Chelsea in second place, which seems more doable. So it feels like one of those moments of they can definitely still qualify for the Champions League, but they really need to arrest this slide, don't they? This run of results
yeah,
is extremely concerning.
yeah. But we've talked about it by message, and Liverpool, their case is so special because there is obviously a context, and I think some people sometimes omit that. When you hear, I don't know if you have heard for the viewers, because I know you did, Daniel, but heard about what oh sorry, I forgot his name, Andrew Robertson said after the Scotland qualification to World Cup. When you pay attention to what McAllister said a few weeks ago about kind of a depression in the squad and everything, it's difficult to really judge them. And even for the new signings, they arrive in a context which is very difficult, because if your partners aren't good in their mind, you can't be good with them. So it's difficult, and I don't know. I don't think the real problem is about the players, because of course they got some incredible players, and even if we can talk about some individual misperformances, I can think about, for example, Ibrahima Konate, who is having some troubles this season, but it's so difficult to judge them only on a sportive aspect.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Last word then on the Premier League. Quick word about the bottom of the table. So Wolves are still bottom, still winless, still only on 2 points. But with Forest and West Ham having a revival under new management, Burnley and Leeds United, 2 of the 3 promoted sides, have slipped into the relegation zone. Do you think that we're likely to see one or both of them changing their head coaches soon? Simply because obviously West Ham and Forest being down there for so much, having new management, and both of them are out of the relegation zone already. With Scott Parker
Yeah,
in charge of Burnley and Daniel Farke in charge of Leeds United, do you
I
think
think
this is
it's
the sort of situation where the clubs have to roll the dice to stay, or are they I don't know, they'd be more pragmatic because, for example, like Wolverhampton Wanderers, the hiring of Rob Edwards. So the story goes is that they were discussing next year in the Championship as opposed to as a real prospect of staying in the Premier League. So that's kind of what I mean. So like, do you think the clubs will roll the dice in order to stay in the Premier League as opposed to planning for the future, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think they will get some credits because if you just look at the table, they are not far behind Nottingham Forest, West Ham.
No, they're only 1 point behind.
Yeah.
Burnley's 1 point behind West Ham. Leeds are level with West Ham.
Yeah, and I think talking about Leeds, I took a look at their schedule, and I think it's more manageable than Leeds United's because they will play against Manchester City, they will play against Liverpool, and they will play against
Yes,
one of a powerhouse. So it will be very difficult. And if I had to bet on which manager is more likely to get sacked, I would go with Daniel Farke because of that schedule.
I would completely agree. And also there was talk about him losing his job after getting promoted as well. It's sort of like finding out the Premier League because Farke has had, was it 3 relegations back to back in the Premier League? But hey, right, we should move on. We need to move on, and we're going to move to La Liga. So on Friday, an incredible result for Valencia, winning 1-0 at home to Levante. Incredible for the score? No, but they really needed a win. On Saturday, Celta Vigo, another victory for them, winning 1-0 at Alaves, thanks to a Iago Aspa penalty kick. Then the big one, Barcelona returning to the Camp Nou. The Spotify Camp Nou. 4-0 at home against Athletic Club. Goals from Lewandowski, Ferran Torres got a couple, and Fermin Lopez. Elsewhere, Osasuna 1, Real Sociedad 3. Their rebuild continues, but they came from behind. They were losing 1 at half time, but won 3-1. And apparently, we'll get that said, but apparently the goal of the weekend. Villarreal, they also won. Their charge continues. 2-1 at home against Mallorca. And then on Sunday, a game that can be described as it happened between Real Oviedo and Rayo Vallecano. Both of them got a red card and nothing else happened. Real Betis, a disappointing 1-1 draw at home against Girona. Precious point for Girona. Atletico Madrid squeaked a 1-0 victory at Getafe, thanks to a Duarte own goal late in the game. And then the last game on Sunday was a brilliant game. Elche to Real Madrid. Real Madrid coming from behind twice to get a point, but nothing else. Well, let's start with the return to the Camp Nou, the Spotify Camp Nou. It feels like this club has been desperate to return there for some time, especially with all the financial difficulties and things like that. It feels like not only their spiritual home, but it does feel like this is like a reset almost, even if it's not financially.
Yeah, of course. After they were out of the company for 2 years, maybe a little bit more. So, and we don't talk about a stadium. We talk about the company, which is one of the most exceptional stadium in the world. So, of course, it has some importance. You've mentioned the finances, and I think it will be important because just to recall that when it will be 100% of its capacity, the stadium will host 105,000 seats. So it's extraordinary, the biggest stadium in Europe. And I don't think Barca could have dreamed a better return to the Camp Nou than the one they got against Athletic, because even if Bilbao, if the Athletic Club are in trouble this season, it's a prestigious match for Barcelona, for both Barcelona and the Athletic Club. Barcelona registered a clean sheet. They scored 4 goals. Lamine Yamal assisted twice, some pretty good assists. Rafinha came back, so everything was, and Joan Garcia too. So everything was like in a dream for Barcelona.
Penny for Nico Williams' thoughts, who turned down a move to Barcelona this summer to stay with Athletic Club. And of course, now he could see his the alternative Marcus Rashford having the season of his for the last few years. Let's move to Elche to Real Madrid to. So this was 0-0 at halftime, believe it or not. Elche opened the scoring with Fabias, I think, and then before Dean Huijsen equalised, and then Rodriguez gave Elche the lead again in the 84th minute, only for Jude Bellingham to snatch a draw just before full time. There was actually a late red card as well for Elche at that point. It was too late for anything to matter. Real Madrid looked very flat in this game. In fact, they've been looking a bit flat the last couple of weeks. So what do you think was, if you've seen the highlights or any of this game, what do you think didn't work in this setup? Because Xabi Alonso, despite Real Madrid being top of the table, it feels like it still hasn't quite settled yet.
Yeah, the thing is, firstly, I think Real Madrid are, I will not say lucky, but they are fortunate to have drawn this game, because when you look at the goals, it's kind of strange. Jude Bellingham assisted with his arm, and there were no VAR. Vinicius Junior had not a kick. I don't know the English word for this part of the leg, but on Iñaki Peña, and he was bleeding, and once again the VAR didn't get involved. So there are some game facts that was made Real Madrid happy about the result. Credit to Elche, because they had a really interesting game. I noted the performance of, sorry for the pronunciation, the defender centre back Affengruber, who has been impressive. And the fact is that we see that when Kylian Mbappe doesn't score for Madrid, Madrid struggles to score and struggles to win.
Because it's quite comparable to Manchester City situation.
Yeah. This is the problem of being dependent of your striker, but I think Manchester City squad is more talented than Real Madrid's one, so they have different options to score. When you look at the form of Rodrigo, who hasn't scored since I don't know when, Vinicius Junior has doing a difficult start to the season. So there are a lot of things which are difficult for Real Madrid and Xabi Alonso to deal with.
So looking at the top of the table, Real Madrid on 32 points, Barcelona on 31, Villarreal on 29, so within a win of Real Madrid, although obviously goal difference keeps them apart, and Atletico on 28. So Atletico have currently have the longest unbeaten streak in La Liga with 12 matches. Strange question, potentially, considering how bad the start of the season was and all the rumours of Simeone's departure and things. Are Atletico in this title race? Because they're only 4 points behind Real, 12 matches unbeaten, and in this run, they have beaten Villarreal and Real Madrid.
Yeah, that's impressive from Atletico, given what you said about their start to the season, and I think they can have some regrets because they lose point against Espanyol, who were in form at this moment of the season.
Sorry, I'll jump in. So
yeah, go.
That's the only match they've lost in La Liga was the first match of the season away at Espanyol, and Espanyol have been a good side. But they also drew at home to Elche. Elche again have been a good side. I suppose the only real disappointing ones were a draw at Alaves and a draw at Mallorca, and a draw at Celta Vigo. But that was when they were drawing against everybody. But like I say, there were victories against Villarreal, against Real Madrid, against Real Betis. And now they've got this run of fixtures where I think they're against Real Oviedo next, and then they've got Barcelona, Athletic Club, but then Girona and Valencia. So 3 of the next 5 matches very, very winnable, but also might be an interesting litmus test against Barcelona to see, actually, are Atletico the real deal? Because if they get a result against Barcelona, then they are still within touching distance.
Yeah, and I think they got the squad depth necessary to I don't know to win the title, but to be in on the podium with just 1 point, 2 points, maybe 3 points behind the two big teams. So maybe if, because you've mentioned it, they beat Real Madrid 5-2 at home in the Derby de Madrid, and they were impressive this day. But we all know that Atletico can be. They are not reliable on a series of 20, 25 games. They can lose points. They can drop points on against weaker teams. And
well, you make a
so
very good
it will
point
be
there, but I
difficult.
suppose the counter argument would be normally Barcelona and Real Madrid don't do that, but they are this year. It seems like the levels of Barcelona and Real Madrid have dropped from last year. So it
Yeah,
does feel like actually, yes, Atletico are dropping points here and there, but so are the big two. So are Barcelona, so are Real Madrid.
yeah. We will for Barcelona. I just want to see what the return of their injured players, because not having your 60 goal and assist player and captain Rafinha is obviously a miss. Your your number one goalkeeper with Joan Garcia having missed 2 months, 1 month and a half of the season. Pedri also, you don't have Gavi. So when all these players will come back to Barcelona, I'm just eager to see what it will be for them.
Okay, well let's park La Liga there and travel over to Italia, Serie A. So on Saturday, you had the most un-Italian match in the history of the world. Cagliari 3, Genoa 3. Fantastic match. A real desperation relegation scrap. Udinese, impressive Udinese usually, but they lost at home to the even more impressive Bologna 3-0. It was 0-0 at halftime. Bologna found 3 second half goals. Precious point for Fiorentina in the new manager derby as they drew 1-1 with Juventus. Terrible match. There were only 6 shots on target combined. Defending champions Napoli defeated Atalanta 3-1. 3 first half goals via David Neres and Noah Lang. Then on Sunday, Hellas Verona lost at home to Parma 2-1. Cremonese lost at home to Roma, who won 3-1. And Evan Ferguson got his first goal of the campaign for them. Lazio beat Lecce 2-0 at home. And then the Milan derby, Inter 0, AC Milan 1. So a couple of things with this. First of all, you're watching the Milan derby. Can you give your sort of how did AC Milan win this? Because it has to be said, Inter looked the far better team and statistically were the better team. And yet AC Milan got the victory. Inter couldn't find the goal.
Yeah, I think Inter missed a great opportunity to take the lead in the standings. In the first half, I remember that Mike Maignan went phenomenal. He denied Marcus Thuram from scoring at the very beginning of the game. Then Lautaro Martinez. Then in the second half, he stopped a penalty from Çalhanoğlu. So he was for me, he was the man of the match. And I think if Mike Maignan had been with Inter, Inter would have won this game, especially since Jan Sommer is having issues this season. I read an article in La Gazzetta dello Sport saying that Inter would like to replace him. I don't know if it's in the winter or next summer, but he has made some mistakes. And when you want to play the title like Inter wants, it's impossible to rely on a not reliable goalkeeper, even if he had an extraordinary season last season, 2 seasons ago. But yeah,
and also his age does play a part, despite being a goalkeeper, but he is 37, I believe.
Yeah,
like that. So
yeah, 36, 37,
yeah. Yeah, okay, and also credit to AC Milan, who have had a bit of a patchy form of late. So the fact that they managed to raise the game to the most
Yeah, and
fiercest rivals.
Pulisic scored the only goal of the
Mm.
match on his return to the pitch because he was injured. So
Yeah. So
great.
AC Milan are currently second in Serie A. Inter are fourth. So let's talk about the league leaders. New leaders in Roma. One of the questions I think I sent you before the program notes. When are Roma fans allowed to get excited? Because they don't seem to be dropping.
Yeah, of course. And the biggest achievement is that they are doing what they are doing without real attackers, and it's kind of impressive. You've mentioned Evan Ferguson scored a goal on his return. He hadn't played for 1 month, but um, at the start of the game, it was a midfielder who were like a number 9. So Claudio Ranieri is doing amazing things with this.
Not
This
no,
this
not Ranieri, no. Oh, it's Gasperini, isn't it?
Gasperini. Oh, sorry. Ranieri was
But
the
it's
last.
interesting. It is
Yeah,
interesting because if you go back to, I think it was last month was the anniversary of Ranieri's return to Roma, because at that point Roma had already got through 2 managers and it was all going terribly, terribly.
yeah.
So it has to be said, in the last 12 months, I think Roma have been the best side in Italy over a 12-month period. So and that is also Ranieri had a terrific end to the season last year, and that's carried on with Gasperini, with Ranieri now in a more director role. But suddenly, out of basically nowhere, Roma seem to have got a lot of choices right with their leadership.
Yeah, yeah. And it pays off, as we can see in the standings. Against Cremonese, they scored 3 goals for the first time this season. So without strikers, it's something good for them. They are not the best. They don't have the goal difference for them, but it's interesting to see they are capable of scoring goals. And moreover, they have an extraordinary defense. They have only allowed 6 goals against them. And I think in Italy, the land of Catenaccio, even if it's not the same than in the 80s and 90s, and even in the 2000s, yeah, it's obviously interesting.
So we've got Roma on 27, AC Milan on 25, Napoli on 25, Inter on 24, and Bologna on 24. So Bologna seem to have crept up on everybody because after a very, very successful season a couple of years ago, they then dropped off a bit last year. But they haven't gone away. They're still there. And actually, they seem to have really revitalized themselves. So you've got 5 teams all within 5 points of each other. Is Serie A still living up to its billing as the most unpredictable league in Europe?
Yeah, it's as you said, they have a lot of teams that can compete for the title, including Bologna. What Vincenzo Italiano has been doing is terrific. He's maybe one of the most underrated coach in Europe right now because before doing great things at Bologna, he did with Fiorentina. And we can see that his work is paying off, even if Bologna lost important players, as we said a few weeks ago, Dan Endoy, notably. So, yeah, credit to Vincenzo Italiano and the players, because if you lose your biggest players and achieve to perform with the one you've got, it's obviously that you are a good coach.
So down at the bottom of Serie A, Hellas Verona on 6 points, Fiorentina still on 6 points, Genoa on 8, and Pisa on 9. Fiorentina, we won't go over it again, but Fiorentina are very close to having a gap between them and safety. But we will
won a single game this season in Serie A.
There are a couple of Serie A teams actually that still haven't won. Right, we'll park Serie A there and go over to the Bundesliga. So some interesting things happening in the Bundesliga this weekend, I promise you that. So on Friday, Mainz and Hoffenheim drew 1-1. On Saturday, it was the Burger Derby. Augsburg beating Hamburger 1-0. I don't know what else to call it. The Burger Derby. The little burgers. Bayern, a thrilling 6-2 victory against Freiburg, who were winning at one point. Freiburg were 2-0 up and yet went on to lose 6-2 at Bayern. A fantastic match between Borussia Dortmund and Stuttgart finished 3-3. Borussia Mönchengladbach's revival continues and another clean sheet, a 3-0 win at Heidenheim. Wolfsburg are still in a perilous position as they lost 3-1 at home to Bayer Leverkusen. Possibly the match of the weekend, Eintracht Frankfurt winning 4-3 at Köln. And then on Sunday, RB Leipzig with a routine 2-0 victory over Werder Bremen. And then St. Pauli 0, Union Berlin 1. I think I said in the notes, you've put 16s for the 3-star places. So, but we'll leave Bayern to the side for a moment. So, RB Leipzig on 25 points, Bayer Leverkusen 23, Borussia Dortmund 22, Stuttgart on 22. So you've got 4 teams within 3 points of each other and 3 Champions League places. It's going to be a hell of a fight between those teams, not only just to get Champions League football, but the financial benefits of it, because it's so important in order to try and keep up with Bayern.
Yeah, you've mentioned Leipzig. I didn't include Bayern in this 6 teams because obviously they will be in the Champions League next season. I think they will win the title back also. But I also put Frankfurt and Hoffenheim because if you watch, take a look at the table, there are 20 points and just 5 points
2
away
points
from
behind Stuttgart in 6th and 7th. You're absolutely right.
So it will be very, very important race for all these teams. You talked about the big games of Dortmund and Frankfurt this weekend. Typical Bundesliga games. Once again, Dortmund, like 2 weeks ago, conceded in the final seconds of the.
Well, let's jump on that. So, Borussia Dortmund actually had a 2-0 lead at half time, I think, via an Emre Can penalty and a Bayer goal. Start the second half, Stuttgart striker Undav pulled one back, then equalised with about 20 minutes to go. But then the last minute of regular time, Karim Adeyemi scored to give Borussia Dortmund a 3-2 lead and just have to get through stoppage time. But no, like you say, there must Dortmund things. So only, I think it was like 90 seconds later, Undav completed his hat-trick to seal the draw for Stuttgart. I think this is one of those ones where it's credit to Stuttgart as opposed to criticising Dortmund, because Stuttgart's had a hell of a job to do in the second half, and they did it brilliantly.
Yeah, and Denis Undav, who had been terrific last season, scoring many goals. He's a great striker, in my opinion. Remember his time at Brighton in the Premier League. He's been very good since his arrival to Stuttgart, and Stuttgart had been a good team even last season. With 2 seasons ago, remember the Seru Guirassy season? Maybe I think he finished top of the league goal scorer.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, with 23 or between 23 and 27 goals. So they were playing championship football. So the thing Stuttgart are doing since 3-4 years has been very interesting. And yeah, but Dortmund, this is a strange team because they have only lost 1 game this season and they just drew too much. They are 4th in the league. And if they were just paying more attention to the end of their games, they could be second of the league. Just a
Yeah, it
few
would be
points.
interesting. Sorry to interrupt. It would be interesting to see the statistics about goals conceded in the last 10 minutes and see what that'd be worth points wise.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't have this one.
Let's look at Bayern because they did go 2-0 down through Suzuki and Menzambi for Freiburg. But they managed to pull it back to 2-2 by half time. Another goal for the teenage Lennart Kahl and Michael Elise. And then in the second half, Elise ran riot with a hat trick of assists. One for Upamecano, one for Harry Kane, one for Nicholas Jackson. And do you know what? I've lost whoever the other scorer was. I think it might have been, was it Elise again? Anyway, the 6-2 to Bayern.
Upamecano scored one. Lennart Kahl, Kane
Elise,
scored.
I've got Upamecano, Kane, Jackson. Someone must have scored twice. I just didn't realize. But yeah, so a couple of questions for Bayern. First of all, this is what I said to you when we were chatting. When do we start taking Lennart Kahl seriously? Because it seems that Bayern have slowly introduced him this season, and actually, have played it down very well. Sort of like just sort of saying he's here for the experience and so on and so on. Because obviously he wouldn't be playing if Musiala was fit, but also he looks the part, doesn't he?
Yeah. I don't watch every Bayern game, but when I do, what I really notice about Lennart Kahl is the way he moves between the lines and with the ball, because the ball is like, of course, it's not the same player as Lionel Messi, but it's the kind of players when they got the ball on the feet, it's like they are glued to it. So I really like this kind of player. He's small. I don't know his size, but he's small.
Although we should point out again, he is only 17, so he's got another like 5 years of growth left.
Yeah, and playing at Bayern Munich at 17, it says something about the quality of a player. And now that Luis Diaz has been suspended for 3 games in the Champions League after his
of course, yeah, it was extended, wasn't it?
Sorry?
Yeah, I forgot he got given a 3-match ban for the
I saw that
for the horrible challenge on Hakimi.
Yeah, so I think Lennart Kahl will have more playing time even in the Champions League. So it's important for him player, and it says a lot about how Vincent Kompany perceives him and how a good player he is.
Well, just before we move on from the Bundesliga, just a quick look at the bottom. Heidenheim are bottom on 5, Mainz on 6, St. Pauli have slipped in on 7, but Wolfsburg just teetering above the relegation playoff spot with 8 points. Final stop in France, shall we? Yeah, I think so. Okay, Ligue 1. An incredible match to start off the fixtures. Nice 1, Marseille 5. Goals from Aubameyang, as well as a couple of assists, a couple of goals from Greenwood, Timothy Ware. On Saturday, Lens continued their fantastic form with a 1-0 victory over Strasbourg. Also, a couple of red cards in that game as well. Rennes had defeated Monaco 4-1, which officially makes Monaco the most irritating team in Europe. And again, we spoke at length about that. Paris Saint-Germain doing what Paris Saint-Germain do. 3-0 victory at home against Le Havre. Then on Sunday, Auxerre 0, Lyon 0. Team at the bottom of Ligue 1. Can Lyon beat them? No, they can't. Their form also continues. Brest with a fantastic victory over Metz. Metz's fantastic form comes to an end. Brest with a penalty in the 10th minute of stoppage time, winning against Metz. Well, late Brest is still better than no Brest. Okay, so Nantes 1, Lorient 1. An incredible match because it was all about Awaziam, who scored an own goal to give Lorient the lead in stoppage time of the first half, but then he scored the equaliser in stoppage time of the second half, so good for him. Toulouse 0, Angers 1, and then the last match, another corker, Lille 4, Paris FC 2. So let's go to the first match of the weekend, Nice against Marseille. Thrilling match. It was only recently we were talking about Nice feels like they'd finally sort of recovered their season and the inconsistency stopped. But they have just lost their last 3 matches. Marseille, on the other hand, are running riot. Are they, considering obviously it's not fun to watch Lyon at the minute, are Marseille the most fun team to watch in France right now?
I think it is, to be honest. They have a great squad. They reinforced it last summer with great addition. We obviously Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who has been playing in Marseille 2 seasons ago. Igor Paixão, who scored against Nice. Even if he needs to adapt to Ligue 1, but also Benjamin Pavard, Naïef Aguerd, so some experienced player, international players too. So very interesting. I think the thing is when you take a look at the table in France, the fact that PSG, Marseille, and Lens are the first three teams in the table, it's quite logical on what we see each weekend. They are the three best teams in the country for now. And so,
well, to support you with some numbers. So Paris Saint-Germain are top on 30 points. Marseille are second on 28, and Lens have 28 as well. But it has to be said, Paris Saint-Germain and Lens have joint best defense, which is so very different to Marseille, who seem to be just outscoring everybody. But Paris Saint-Germain have conceded 11. Lens have conceded 11. In fact, Marseille have only conceded 12. So this is no fluke by Marseille. They are just genuinely outscoring every opponent. Sorry, and it's not just attack. It's like their defense is equal to Paris Saint-Germain and Lens, basically.
Yeah, for example, Benjamin Pavard, before the international break, had some troubles with his defense, and he scored own goals. He conceded a red card, but now he seems to be adapted and very well adapted. Also, Arthur Vermeeren, who were just playing in the Champions League, is now a starter in Ligue 1. Maybe we will wait to see when Pierre-Emile Højbjerg will play, because he was playing in the with Denmark and the Scotland game, which was full of emotions for Denmark players, of course. So they have a really great squad. They got the top scorer in Ligue 1 with Mason Greenwood. Even if I don't really want to talk about him, he's of course the Ligue 1 top scorer for now. So they have everything it takes to compete with PSG, with this PSG, because of course Paris lack of players, especially attacking players. So we will see when they will all come back. But Marseille are doing great.
So it does look like a proper three-way battle for the French title, which is fantastic. Let's just look slightly below them. So there is a gap of 5 points between Lens and Lille in fourth. So Lille on 23, Strasbourg on 22, Rennes are on 21. They've had a great turn of form. They've just won their last 3 matches and rocketed up the table. But I want to focus on the teams in 7th and 8th, which are Lyon and Monaco, because it was only about 3 or 4 weeks ago that we had like a 5-6 team title race, and they were all on level points. And yet in the last few weeks, Lyon and Monaco's form has completely disintegrated. So Monaco, like I said, losing the last 3, and in quite embarrassing fashion in a couple of them. There seems to be quite poor disciplinary record as well, because who was it? Zakaria got sent off against Rennes, didn't he? So it was 2-0 to Rennes. Zakaria got sent off, and then it was 4-0 before Monaco got a consolation goal late in the game. Monaco seem a little bit, like I say, it seems like they lack discipline. Would that be fair to say? We'll come on to Lyon shortly, but for Monaco, would it be fair to say it's as simple as sort of the steel, the determination, the mentality of the team?
Yeah, the first thing about Monaco I want to highlight, because it is maybe one of the moments of the season in France, is that Paul Pogba finally played a game for 2 years after his doping suspension. So he has been back on the pitch against Rennes when Monaco were trailing 4-0. And his first steps in Ligue 1, because he never played in Ligue 1 before.
I completely forgot about that, of course.
Yeah, because he was trained at Le Havre, and then he went to Manchester United when he was 16, and then Juventus, Manchester
Juventus,
United, Juventus. So he was making his debut in Ligue 1 at he's 32 now. So it is the big point. But yeah, let's talk about Monaco. Their defensive lineup is terrible. They got a lot of missing players on injuries. But they are now the third worst defense in Liga, which is terrible because the only teams to have conceded more are Metz. We've talked about them during the past weeks. Conceded goals and goals and goals and never win. And Lorient is the second. So two promoted teams. And for Monaco, who is one of the wealthiest in the league, it's impossible to have these players, this lineup, because Eric Dyer is injured. Mohamed Salissou, the former Southampton player, is also the only true centre back. Sebastian Pocognoli put in the lineup against Rennes was Thilo Kehrer, the previous PSG and Schalke player. So it says a lot about their difficulties. And their offensive player can't score. Also, their midfielders have difficulties. So there is a general context which makes things really difficult for.
So then, a word on your beloved Lyon. So I mean, the thing is, they've only lost one match in the last 4 games, but the other, so they've not won in 4 games. It's been draw, lost, draw. So they've only got 3 points out of a possible 12, which isn't the worst thing in the world. But they have played against, is it 2 or 3 of the bottom 4?
Yeah, we've played against Auxerre this weekend, Paris 2 weeks ago.
So now, serious question. I know this sounds like a bit of a joke, but it is serious. I can't help but notice that does coincide with Paulo Fonseca's return to the touchline. Was it working better without him?
He is not yet on the touchline. He will.
Oh, is he not? Sorry, I thought he came back a few weeks ago.
Yeah, no, he will be next week or.
Okay, then that's a moot point.
But he is in the Europa League, so.
Okay,
but no, the thing is that.
But okay, well then on a serious note, have Lyon sort of run out of ideas, because it does feel like they just can't score really. I mean, like they've not been great defensively, but they've been poor offensively.
No, the thing is that if you have followed Lyon, their start to the season, they have been great. They won against Marseille, they won against Lens, they won against Lille. But it was then first difficult and kind of lucky, because Lyon had big problems this summer. They practically get relegated to League 2. They didn't recruit a lot this summer. They have a lot of injured players, especially forward Malik Fofana, Ernest Nouama. They lost Ryan Cherki, Lacazette, Mikotadze this summer, so they have big problems. They didn't recruit it. They want Hendrik in the winter, but yeah, it's a miracle that Lyon managed to win these games early this season.
Now, so is your point that this is actually more true to where they are in League?
Yeah.
Like it was a false position at the start.
Yeah, I think at the end of the season they will end like 6th or 7th, because that's where they belong. If you watch at the bench on Auxerre, there are under 19 players and national free. It's like the national free players. It's like the 5th division in France. So they don't have squad depth at all. And when one player or one starter is injured or missing for a suspension, it's obviously a young player replacing him. Even if Lyon are one of the best formative center in Europe, it's difficult.
Yes. Okay, good. Sorry, just 1 second. I think my microphone switched over there. That was very funny. Okay, so before we go, we got the tops and flops and some stats of the weeks. Would you like to contribute your tops and flops?
Yeah, for my top, we will go in South America because if you didn't know, on Saturday it was the Copa Sudamericana final between Atlético Mineiro and Lanús. So
Who won?
Brasilia,
Who won? Damn you! Who won?
it was Lanús, the Argentinian club. So just to say something about the Copa Sudamericana, it's the equivalent in Europe for the Europa League. And for Lanús, it's a great story to have won this title because Lanús is a special club, like a neighborhood club. They are located in the suburbs of Buenos Aires, so the capital of Argentina. And they are run like a local community organization where everyone contribute to the success of the club. So it's a great story, and they want to be at the opposite of the football business things we are more and more seeing in the world. So here is my top, and concerning my flop, it's about the racist chants directed at Dusan Vlahovic between in the game between Fiorentina and Juventus this weekend. As usual, I want to say Dusan Vlahovic played for Fiorentina for 4 years between 2018 and 2022.
So for context, so it was this anti-Serbian.
Yeah, and each time he goes back to Fiorentina, he's the victim of racist chants. So it is obviously my flop of the week and of the weekend.
Serious one.
Do you have some?
Well, I was going to say, actually, that's quite serious points. Maybe we should leave that as the only flop, just as a sort of general. No, thank you very much. I'm going to combine my top though. So I'm going to say a word on Frank Lampard, former England sensation, England and Chelsea sensation, winners of the Champions League and so on, who is now in charge of Coventry City, and they are by far the best team in the Championship. It is astonishing their return to form under Frank Lampard. They have been brilliant, like utterly brilliant. But I'm actually going to combine a top with a stat. So, so my stat of the week, and then I've got a quiz question for you afterwards before we finish. My stat of the week and top, I'm going to say Callum Wilson. Because when Callum Wilson went to West Ham United, a lot of West Ham United fans weren't that happy because, one, he barely played a match last season because he's always injured. And secondly, he basically insulted West Ham United in a podcast with Mikel Antonio. But anyway, so this was a brilliant stat that I heard early today, which was Callum Wilson became the only known person since data was collected, only known player to have scored 2 goals and completed not a single successful pass.
What's that statistic?
So zero, just no pass completion at all, but 2 goals.
Yeah, that's so strange. It's like on FIFA, you just press the button, the round button, and just shoot and score. But it's thanks for that one because.
No, have you got a good stat, or shall I go on to my quiz question?
I have a stat, but it's also a quiz. So
okay, you go then. I just agree.
Okay. So in Europe, top 5, so France, Germany, England, Italy, and Spain, Bayern are the best, have the most goals scored. Then Barcelona, Real Madrid, and PSG are 4th and 5th. But do you know who is 3rd?
Sorry, would you mind repeating that? Comically, my AirPod jumped onto my watch. Okay. Currently doing the work.
But Bayern and Barca are 1st and 2nd best. Have scored the most goal in Europe's top 5.
Mm-hmm.
PSG and Real Madrid are respectively 5th and 4th. But do you know who is the 3rd best attacking team in Europe at the moment.
When you say attacking team at the moment, what do you mean? What's the period of time?
The team who has scored the most goals
This season or 2025?
Yeah, this season.
Okay, this season. Well, comically, this was going to be a similar question to what I was going to ask you, which was going to be
No way.
the top three top goal scoring clubs across 2025, the entirety of 2025. Number one was Bayern. Number two was Barca. Number three was, say it with me, Marseille.
So we have the same answer. It's and for the viewers, we can assure you we didn't talk about that stat of the week.
No.
So
no. But also, that is quite a fun one though. Sort of the idea that Marseille have actually scored more goals across the entire of 2025 than Paris Saint-Germain and Real Madrid.
I didn't have that stat. I have another one last for I saw during the Derby della Madonnina yesterday. Christian Pulisic over the last 3 seasons in Italy in Serie A, he's the player with the most goal involvement in Serie A with Lautaro Martinez. So that's I don't think a lot of people would have bet.
That is a great stat. I don't think Pulisic really gets his. There's an expression that was recently coined in this country, which is get his flowers. You know, like I just allot some time to actually receive the praise and sort of thing and give his dues. But yeah, I think Pulisic is sort of loved by AC Milan fans, but not sort of recognized around the rest of Europe. It seems like he's always been just outside of the elite player status, but. Yeah, he's been one of the best players in Italy ever since he moved there.
Of course. And after his spell at Chelsea, I didn't think he could have reached that level of performance. So great.
But he is a brilliant technical player. Sorry,
I got one final stat.
Go on. Then.
I saw yesterday, and it's in MLS, and of course, it's the GOAT of the GOATs. Naming Lionel Messi, of course. Inter Miami have scored 25 goals in their last 7 matches. 22 of them are from Lionel Messi. So goals or assists. That's ridiculous.
But again, that's understandable when you've got the best. Like we were just saying with Manchester City and Real Madrid, if you've got the best striker in the world, just get the ball to them and let them score. If you have Leo Messi on your team, give the ball to Messi. And also, actually, before we go, because we mentioned Messi, and we're not allowed to mention Messi without mentioning Cristiano Ronaldo. Credit to Cristiano Ronaldo, who just scored an overhead kick at the age of 40. Right. Okay. So thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Obviously, apologies for not being here last week, but it was the international break and we don't care. But we will see you next week and it'll be fun. Thank you so much for joining me, Leo.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time with more of this nonsense. Until then, have a great week.
Yeah. Goodbye, Daniel.